Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us on the programme this evening.
And I just stood up like that. I went, right.
Lying to police. Laura Castle is jailed for life for the murder of baby Leland, the little boy she was trying to adopt.
Laura Castle's a manipulative liar. She's lied throughout, and even as we sit here today, I don't think anyone actually knows the reality of what actually happened that morning.
We'll be asking if social services in Cumbria still have questions to answer over Leland's death.
Also tonight.
Really silly parties all the time. He should have put his foot down. He should have told them no.
He didn't tell them no. He joined in. Reaction from Bury Market to the Sue Gray report into those law-breaking lockdown parties at Downing Street.
The press conference before Paris. Liverpool face the cameras before facing Real Madrid in the Champions League final.
The countdown's on. We're in the Isle of Man ahead of the start of the 2022 TT.
And all the pollen and weather details will be coming up later on in the programme.
First, she was described as a monster. Laura Castle is tonight starting a life sentence for the murder of a baby boy she'd hoped to adopt.
Leland James Corkill was 13 months old when he died. Tonight, we can show you the police interviews where Laura Castle lied to try to cover her tracks. The officer who led the investigation said the baby boy's injuries were the same as if he'd been in a high-speed car crash or had fallen from a multi-storey building.
Watching Castle being sentenced to a minimum of 18 years at Preston Crown Court, our correspondent Elaine Wilcox. Elaine.
Yes, Laura Castle had subjected a defenceless baby boy to gratuitous violence after she lost control when he cried. The judge said it was a tragedy that they continued with the adoption of Leland James, putting her own selfish desire for a family ahead of his welfare and safety. The former care worker sobbed uncontrollably when she was sentenced to life. But the baby's birth mother said Castle wasn't a mother, but a monster. Just a warning, you may find some of the images and detail in Fiona Marley-Patterson's report distressing.
Hours after killing a baby, Laura Castle told police it was an accident.
And I just stood up like that. I went, right. And he fell on the floor.
But the police investigation stepped up when medics felt the account of Leland James's injuries didn't stack up. But in court, her story changed. She said she'd lied to police, confessing she'd shaken the child to stop him crying when his head hit the arm of the sofa. But police and the court felt that didn't account for the injuries.
The injuries received were akin of a high-speed car crash or a significant fall from a multi-storey building. So what Laura Castle was conveying and then how she changed her story straight away, you started to disbelieve anything she was going to say. Ultimately, what has been proven throughout the trial is Laura Castle's a manipulative liar. She's lied throughout, and even as we sit here today, I don't think anyone actually knows the reality of what actually happened that morning. Only Laura Castle knows what occurred that morning that resulted in Leland James having such significant injuries, because she's never actually been truthful throughout the trial to tell us that.
The police also found distressing videos on Laura Castle's phone.
You're getting all hot.
One shows her reaction to another child crying in pain in hospital. Is this the face of compassion? Others show Leland James crying, as he had been when he sustained fatal injuries. The officer in charge of this investigation, a father of four himself, says it was one of the most shocking cases Cumbria Police has dealt with.
The nature and the detail of what's actually happened to Leland James is horrific. And naturally, no matter how long you do the job for, you never get used to seeing something so horrific.
So now a woman who said that this was an accident is now behind bars for the murder of a 13-month-old baby boy.
I'm proud of the team. They did a fantastic job and they've got some form of justice for Leland, albeit it won't bring him back. It will obviously protect any other children that may come into contact with Laura Castle at some point in her life.
A woman is now behind bars for the murder of a baby entrusted to her care. Now attention turns to children's services. An investigation to find out how his killer was chosen to be his mum, and how to prevent another child enduring the abuse he suffered. Fiona Molly Patterson, ITV News.
Well, this is an absolutely heartbreaking case, Elaine, and Leland James's birth mother has issued a moving statement about her little boy removed from her at birth.
Yes, that's right, Lucy. It has been a harrowing case, and the baby's birth mother said she is heartbroken. She said Leland James was taken from me because of the risk of emotional and physical harm, and he was subjected to that harm at the hands of an adopted parent. She said, I was told he would be safe and he'd have a good life. My beautiful blue-eyed boy had been placed with a monster, she said, someone who was meant to love, cherish and nurture him, but robbed him of his life. She said no sentence was enough for the brutality inflicted on her tiny baby.
Elaine, the criminal case is now over, but there is still an ongoing investigation about the role of Cumbria County Council.
Yes, that's right. The authority knew that Laura Castle was struggling to bond with the baby. A review of the placement was set to take place. That was after a social worker said she didn't support the adoption without further training for the adopted parents, and Leland James stayed and he was murdered before that review could take place. An independent review into what went wrong and lessons to be learned will be published in July, and of course this all happened during the COVID pandemic when there were fewer visits and checks on the family. But today in court, Laura Castle's own barrister said she had already been isolated and ostracised in prison because she beat and killed a baby who couldn't defend himself.
Okay, really harrowing stuff. Elaine at Preston Crown Court, thank you.
Well, next tonight, reaction to the Sue Gray report into those lockdown-breaking parties at Downing Street. Of course, they happened at a time when all indoor gatherings of any kind, not just parties, were totally against the law. One man whose father died during the lockdown says Number 10 sounded like the nightclub, the Hacienda.
Our correspondent Anne O'Connor reports now from Bury, where one of the town's Conservative MPs actually defected to Labour because of the shame of the Partygate scandal.
The report outlines excessive alcohol into the early hours, abuse of cleaners and security staff, a leadership that allowed it all to go on.
I take full responsibility for everything that took place on my watch.
James Nunnally died with COVID in a care home in Moston in Manchester, round the time of one of the gatherings in May 2020.
It sounded like Number 10 was more like the Hacienda than Number 10 Downing Street. It just seems like it was party after party, and it just had no respect for the public.
The Bury South MP Christian Wakeford left Boris Johnson's government over Partygate. Today, he sat on the Labour benches to pillory him.
He's not sorry for the upset, the concern, the anguish this is causing for any family member who's either gone through a loss or cancer treatment or anything throughout the pandemic. He's not sorry whatsoever. He's absolutely shameless.
At the market in his constituency, where his Tory victory took the seat from Labour, they are split.
All politicians are going to lie to you, try and get you onto their side. So I think with Boris, he's funny. I like him. You might as well have one in charge that you like.
Boris Johnson is not working for the country, he's working for his party. And if there's any iota of honesty in him, he should resign. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely sick to death of having a go at somebody who did Brexit, and he did a damn good job on it.
Really silly parties all the time. He should have put his foot down. He should have told them no.
If he resigns, who's going to be in charge then? We get someone just as bad or similar.
That's the right thing he's supposed to do, but you know how it is. I'm not sure he's gonna step down.
I think they should get him out. All he's done is told lies.
Some are sick of it all and want the rising cost of their produce to be addressed.
I feel like it is now time to move on, with more important things to be thinking about now. All the meat prices are going up. It's really hard to try and say to the customers, we're sorry, but we have to pay the extra prices, so they have to pay the extra prices.
It has been one of the most marginal seats in the country, and there's no sign Bury South is united behind their MP or the Prime Minister. Anne O'Connor, ITV News, Bury.
Yeah, and many of you have been sending your thoughts to us about the Partygate scandal. We will try and read out some of them at the end of the programme. Here's what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up, the report into rule-breaking parties at Downing Street is out, and it is a difficult read for Number 10. Sue Gray says senior leaders must take responsibility for the party culture behind closed doors. So what now for the Prime Minister? We will have the very latest on the shocking US school shooting, which left 19 children and 2 adults dead. And what did the model Kate Moss have to say at her ex Johnny Depp's libel trial? We have all the details. If you join me with those stories and much more at 6:30. Thanks, Mary. Well, meanwhile, back here, patients at 4 hospitals are still being warned to expect delays because of a major IT failure. It's affecting tests and scans at Oldham, Bury and Rochdale hospitals, as well as the North Manchester General. People are being asked to avoid A&E except in really urgent cases.
Rail workers in the North West have voted to strike in a dispute over jobs, pay and conditions. Members of the RMT union backed industrial action in a vote. Services could be reduced to a fifth of the normal timetable.
Well, next we're welcoming back a good friend of ours at Granada Reports. We've told you the story before of Maria Romanenko and her escape from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Well, she joins us tonight with her boyfriend Jez Myers from Manchester. Hi, you two.
Hello.
Hi.
This is Maria's mum, Tatiana. He came to the UK last month after being granted a visa.
Well, Maria is here to tell us what happened when she applied on her mum's behalf for universal credit from the Department for Work and Pensions.
Maria, firstly, your mum doesn't speak English, and the translator provided from the DWP spoke Russian. Tell us what happened.
Yes, so I think that's the moment I saw my mum, because I was like working and I was just walking to the kitchen to grab some food, and I hear my mum sort of really struggling on the phone because she's talking to this Russian translator who is basically just completely ignoring that she's Ukrainian and kind of pronouncing her name in a Russian way, spelling it out in a Russian way, even though, you know, the spelling of Tatiana is different to the Russian one. Even in English language, when you spell it, it's a different name. But he was completely ignoring all of that, and she looked very, very distressed. And then I kind of got the full story later, what happened, and they basically didn't have a Ukrainian interpreter. They sorted her out with a Russian one, and she was left very, very mortified and distressed by this experience.
So what was her reaction when she realised that the translator provided was Russian, so spoke Russian, didn't speak Ukrainian?
Oh, she just kept looking at me, and she was like, I'm so mortified, I'm so stressed. And then later, after the call, she was like, my mood has been killed completely. I don't feel like doing anything today, and that kind of lingered on for the whole day. She kept saying how, you know, she thought she would have a relatively nice day, and that was all killed after that experience.
Well, given what is happening in your home country at the moment, just can you describe how insensitive that was?
It's very insensitive. You know, there's a lot of like this kind of wrong stereotype or thought that Ukrainian and Russian are the same language, and that it's it's okay to speak to somebody in Russian. And obviously for some people it's okay, but you know it's wrong to say that these are interchangeable and you can just get somebody who speaks Russian to talk to a Ukrainian person, that they wouldn't be offended by it. And in particular instance with my mum, I found the Russian interpreter to be very insensitive as well. I don't know if it was deliberate or he was generally not aware of what he was doing, but it just felt completely insensitive, especially given the circumstances.
Well, we like to try and be fair on this programme, so we better give the DWP their right of reply. So they have said that they, and I quote, are mindful of the trauma that many Ukrainians arriving in the UK have faced, and they go on, "It is not our policy to provide a Russian-speaking linguist in response to a request for a Ukrainian linguist. We apologise for the misunderstanding in this case and the distress that has caused." Is that enough? Are you happy to get an apology?
I think from my end, it doesn't explain, A, when a Ukrainian translator was requested, why the DWP refused to have a callback when one was available. They claim they don't have these facilities, which seems remarkable. And of course, whilst it's great for them to push out a nice fluff piece apology to the media, there's been no contact with Maria's mum. We'd expect, to be perfectly honest, an apology in Ukrainian for Maria's mum, so she can actually understand that they are sorry themselves. And this goes through to the fact that they're still refusing to write to her in Ukrainian. They write to her every time in English, even this morning, knowing that she cannot understand English.
Maria, time is against us, but just very briefly, I mean, we're now 3 months into this war. How are you and your mum coping?
We're okay. Well, there's a lot of difficulties for my mum. For me, it's fine, you know, because I speak English and I've been here before, but my mum is struggling with a lot of things. She's never had to work with the English system of life and all of these things before, so she needs a lot of support from me. And I think instances like this really don't help, and they leave her traumatized for a long time.
Thank you so much to both of you for joining us. It's good to see you both again.
It certainly is. On to sport next, and Jurgen Klopp says Liverpool will be ready for the Champions League final this weekend.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Klopp has just been a bit excited. Klopp has just been named as the League Manager Association's Manager of the Year and says he has no concerns about his side suffering from the effects of their near miss in the Premier League title race on Sunday.
Andy Bonner has more.
With the biggest game of the season just 3 days away, desire to reclaim the Champions League title is at maximum level for Liverpool. But with just days to prepare, it could be seen as a quick turnaround for the Reds. It's not just bodies, but minds that need to be match fit after finishing a close second in the Premier League at the weekend.
We are all in a good mood. Life is like this. If you are healthy, what the boys obviously are, life gives you opportunities again and again, and in this case it's a Champions League final, so we see that nobody feels the pain from Sunday anymore. We are really just looking forward to this game against an incredibly strong opponent, most experienced opponent you can probably get in this competition, but we are really looking forward to it.
Liverpool can be forgiven for their enthusiasm. Hopes of a quadruple may now have disappeared, but with 2 trophies under their belts and a successful Champions League campaign almost behind them, the team believe they've earned their place against Real Madrid.
We couldn't have done any more this season in every single competition that we've played. And so, yeah, Saturday is a huge opportunity to finish the season off on a high, and we'll do everything in our power to be able to do that.
I think as a team we're doing good. I'm having a good season, very good one actually, and I just try to help the team to win games. That's the most important thing for me.
This will be Liverpool's 3rd Champions League final in 5 years. Jurgen Klopp, the League Managers Association's new Manager of the Year, will be hoping to repeat the success of 2019.
We are not here by any kind of magic. So that we are, oh my God, how did we get in the Champions League final? We deserve this as well. 3 times in 5 years is exceptional. If we could do that again, it would mean 6 times in 10 years, which is obviously ridiculous. This competition is really difficult. It's really, really difficult. And we did it now the 3rd time, really special. And we really want to give it a go.
Klopp says his boys are fresh and full of excitement. They fly out to Paris on Friday and hope they'll be returning with one more piece of silverware. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Liverpool.
And preparations well underway for the biggest event held every year on the Isle of Man, the TT.
Yeah, from Sunday until June the 10th, the island plays host to tens of thousands of spectators and some of the world's fastest and bravest motorcycle racers on the planet.
Our Isle of Man reporter Joshua Stokes has more.
this food distribution base in Douglas, this is boom time, delivering thousands of products across the island's hospitality sector.
We geared up probably about 3 weeks ago, so our stock holding kind of trebles over the kind of 6-7 weeks of May and June, and we're 24/7 pretty much delivering products out to the island. So we have a completely new area once TT opens, which is your burger vans and your catering vans and the grandstand. So we have a lot of customers who open up just for TT and Grand Prix there, so we have to put on extra routes, extra staffing, extra vans. The business kind of doubles, nearly triples between that period of time, so it's fantastic. But it's hard work.
We've missed it over the last 3 years, and you just have to be here. The atmosphere, it's just great. Even though we do a lot of work, I'm really looking forward to it this year. Well, I think we'll be working a few extra weekends than we normally do, and there'll be a few late shifts, but there's so many mouths here to feed. Morning, buddy! And we supply all throughout the island, all the hotels, the campsites, the burger vans, you name it, we'll be there.
And one of those sites will be housing hundreds of tourists. But with estimates of over 40,000 visitors to the island, these campsites are filling up fast.
We are fully booked by Monday of qualifying week, which is great. It's been a long battle to get here and survival battle. The TT is a massive part of the island's economy, and it brings the whole tempo of the island up to speed. Like the rest of the UK travel industry, we have to hang in there and stick at it, and then the customers still want to come to the TT.
But it's not just racing that draws the crowds. This year we'll see a new big stage attracting the biggest of acts, all hoping to bring the good times back to the island.
Are you looking forward to bonding with the Isle of Man audience?
That's what we live for. When I was a kid, sitting on the edge of my bed, imagining playing concerts, that was so romantic, the concept of looking out there at all those people. I can't wait, bro.
In just a few days' time, the world's motorcycling community will descend on this island's capital, breathing new life into the local economy as the countdown to one of the greatest of motorsport events continues. Joshua Stokes, ITV News, Douglas.
Exciting stuff. 50 years ago, around 100,000 people descended on the tiny village of Bickershaw near Wigan.
Yeah, they were there for the Bickershaw Pop Festival, featuring the likes of the Grateful Dead, the Kinks and Hawkwind.
It's become a footnote in the region's music history, but as Tim Scott found out, some people are determined to keep that hippie spirit alive.
100,000 music fans in the unlikely setting of Bickershaw, where the village's one and only rock festival took place in 1972, 50 years ago this month. Aged just 14 at the time, Andy Sharrocks had the time of his life.
I remember seeing Hawkwind and Wishbone Ash, and
good fun.
It was fabulous, you know, it was like something else. You'd never experienced it before, especially at that age. Really put an imprint on my mind for the rest of my life, really.
To the bemusement of the locals, the hippies and Hells Angels took over Bickershaw. This shopkeeper was happy for the upturn in business until it all got too much.
Of the thousands of people that have been in this shop, I haven't found one that's been arrogant or insolent in any way, shape or form. Well, it's just getting too chaotic. I've had enough. Because I can't cope.
One of the festival's masterminds was none other than Jeremy Beadle, yes him, seen here in probably his first ever TV appearance.
I'm working for the people who are putting the money in, and they are a group of northern businessmen, and they're very nice, and I like them, and so does my mum.
Music journalist Mick Middles travelled from Stockport on his moped. Hells Angels took his last 30p, but they did manage to smuggle him inside.
It's the most uncomfortable place to be, and the strangest setting, even in the middle of Wigan, on an ex-slag heap, basically. But, you know, what a lineup. I wish I'd gone for the whole festival.
It was cold and it rained, but the likes of the Grateful Dead, Donovan and the Kinks all put on a good show. And 50 years on, this group of friends who were all at Bickershaw have come together to remember those good times. They've all made careers in music, including Chris Hewitt, who's written a book about the festival and now collects rock sound equipment and memorabilia.
Jimi Hendrix Stratocaster headstock. Have the 1970 Led Zeppelin PA mixer. Bickershaw was a springboard for me to going into the music business. Yeah, I was 16 and just coming up to 17, I think, when I arrived at Bickershaw. Went working for Jeremy Beadle, handing flyers out and helping with tickets and stuff. So it was really, you know, the thing that set me off in. And obviously, years later, I'm still living the dream.
So while it may seem like ancient history, for some people, the freewheeling spirit of the Bickershaw Festival lives on. Tim Scott, ITV News.
How superb is that?
Still,
Happy days.
Still living the dream.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Let's get the weather. The dream's over. Here's Joe.
That sunshine really made your eyeshadow pop, you know. And you put the wipe in the bin, not the toilet.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Go ahead, Queen.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. A few glimmers of brightness around today, but it has been rather cloudy on the whole, with a spell of rain and more rain to come for the northwest of England and the Isle of Man for tomorrow. Quite windy conditions this afternoon, and winds will pick up and again during the day tomorrow. After that, it'll settle down weather-wise for a time Friday and Saturday. High pressure's trying to build in, but a front will move west to east across the country tomorrow, bringing a spell of rain, after which things settle down nicely as we approach the weekend with some fine weather around and temperatures getting a little bit of a boost as well. Back to this evening's details, and dry, quiet, any showery rain dying away over the next hour or two. Breezy, but winds tending to drop out as we go through the night. And long clear spells doesn't mean it's going to be chilly, probably 10 or 11 Celsius for most places. More cloud building out to the far west by the end of the night, so the Isle of Man may be having some drizzle as you get up tomorrow morning. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun times. It's up tomorrow at 4:54, setting at 9:23 tomorrow evening. Now for tomorrow, a dry start very early on, but quite quickly cloud will build from the west. And by the time most of us are out and about, a spell of rain will be moving west-east across the northwest of England and taking with it some heavier bursts through the middle part of the morning. Into the afternoon, it fragments, but it remains rather damp, cloudy, that wind picking up through the day. Some late brightness across parts of Cumbria and the Isle of Man perhaps. And temperature-wise tomorrow, no great shakes. For the time of year, it's around average, 16 or 17 degrees. Looking ahead though, things will be settling down for Friday and Saturday with some nice spells of warm sunshine.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Those eyebrows are unreal.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
And levels of grass pollen have depleted slightly over the last couple of days. Bit of rain around today, keeping things nice and low grass pollen wise. And the outlook is promising for hay fever sufferers through the rest of this week. It remains low. Bye-bye.
Well, as promised, a couple of your views on the report into the parties at Downing Street. Carl tells us Partygate won't be forgotten. So many stuck to the rules that he and his government told us to stick to. Then they frequently didn't do that themselves and then lied to the country. They've got to go.
Yeah, fair to say. Most of you did agree with Carl, but Andy in Salford did say it's time to move on now. The report is out. We can't take back what happened. Let's concentrate on getting folk help with the cost of living, like energy bills, fuel and food costs. Thanks for all of your views on that. Sorry, there are only time for two. Bye-bye.